Welcome to Al Bernstein Unplugged on Boxing. In a 40-year Hall of Fame career, Al has chronicled some of the greatest moments in boxing history. On this podcast, you get to hear him expand on those memories and talk about the current news in the sport of boxing. You also hear Al interview some of the biggest names in the sport. Here's Al Bernstein Unplugged.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the show. We're happy you joined us. On this episode, we're going to concentrate mostly, almost entirely, on the Errol Spence-Danny Garcia pay-per-view broadcast. That'll be on December 5th, that fight card, which should be a very interesting card to be sure, especially the main event with Spence-Garcia. It's one of the more important matches of the last quarter of the year for the sport of boxing. We've got some of your questions. We've also got two fine guests. We've got Angel Garcia, who, of course, is the trainer of Danny Garcia. And also we'll be chatting with Sebastian Fundora, who is the very fine 154-pounder who is on the undercard of that card against Jorge Cota. Sebastian Fundora, of course, the 6'5" 154-pounder, but he is a lot more than just a tall guy in that division. He's a very talented fighter, and he'll be someone we chat with on this show as well. To help me do all of this, we bring in my co-host, Mr. Trip Mitchell. Trip, how you doing today?
I am great, and this is a fun show because this pay-per-view coming up the first week in December looks to be very interesting, and if Errol Spence Jr. comes through this, boy, is his life pretty great. There's some awfully great welterweights out there, but he has got a top 5 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. He's got things going.
Yeah, he really does. And, of course, Danny Garcia at age 32 hopes this is a big win to springboard him to a world title again. He's had two titles at both 140 and 147 pounds, and much to talk about as it relates to that fight. And we're going to do that as this show continues. Another actual boxing event that's on the docket is this Saturday when Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. get together in their exhibition match. The whole event is an interesting one because social media has, we live in an age where social media drives events, and it has driven this event. They've added a music element to it, and it became a larger-than-life event. And it'll be on Saturday for sure. And filling in for me, my pal, Mauro Ronaldo. He is going to step in and do the play-by-play on the event, so the boxing fans will be in good hands with that. Now, as it relates to the Spence-Garcia fight, which we are kind of zeroing in on this podcast and this show, we have some questions, I believe, do we not, that pertain to that?
Certainly. Our first question comes from Darren O'Hare. And by the way, if you have questions, Al's Twitter account is the best spot to send them. And we get great questions. And Darren asks, what's your opinion of the fight?
Yeah, that's a general question, but I'm going to take it more as a style question. I think, two fighters who are very different. You have, in effect, though it doesn't equate just to this, the aggressor against the counterpuncher. And the aggressor is Errol Spence Jr., who comes forward, throws a high volume of punches, is a very powerful puncher, a terrific body puncher. And then Danny Garcia, who is more of a counterpuncher, who also has power, especially in his left hook, but he likes to let the fight come to him. And so I think we're going to see two kind of different styles in there. And the question will be whether Danny Garcia decides to attack more at the beginning of fights and even during the fight, because in his only two losses to very, very close losses to Keith Thurman and Shawn Porter, there were periods where he got off to kind of a slow start, I think, in both those fights, and some people believe that's what cost him those fights.
Okay, and our second question, also on the fight, coming from Surly Bull, and he asks, and this is vis-a-vis Errol Spence's accident that happened quite a while ago. And naturally, can you think through, naturally, when you work off a cell phone and you're my age, there's always
Yeah,
something that can go wrong.
Yeah.
And anyway, can you think through how you would have felt about this fight pre-accident and how you think about it now? And how much uncertainty in this matchup is not knowing how Spence will do when he returns, as in, can he take the same punch? Would Garcia be a bigger underdog or favorite without these questions?
Yeah, big fights are made bigger when there are big questions. And the biggest one is this, the car accident that Errol Spence had after they originally announced this fight. So it was, of course, announced before that happened. And the fact that Spence is coming back without any kind of tune-up fight or anything of that nature and jumping right in against the top fighter in Danny Garcia begs the question, will he be prepared these many months later? And will there be any residual effects from the accident? Everyone that I know that has seen Errol Spence work and be ready for this fight has suggested that he is totally prepared and looks very good physically. In sparring and everywhere else, but of course that's different than actual competition. And so we're going to find out. Now this fight, when it was announced, was, in my opinion, a competitive fight before there was any kind of accident. Danny Garcia is a very competitive opponent for Errol Spence. He, as I said, he lost very close decision to Shawn Porter. Porter gave Spence all he could ask for in Spence's previous fight and lost a split decision to Spence that some people thought Shawn Porter could have won. So clearly, these are two fighters. Danny Garcia is on a level that puts him appropriately in the ring with Errol Spence. So we're all going to be wondering what impact that accident may or may not have had on Errol Spence. And I mentioned earlier that Danny Garcia is not the kind of fighter to come forward and be super aggressive at the beginning of fights. Some would think maybe that's an interesting strategy given Spence coming back after that accident and the long layoff. But we'll see how it plays out. I think it's going to be a very interesting fight. I believe that Danny Garcia is going to have to land something of note against Spence as he kind of powers his way in. And we're going to see if he can do that with either a counter left hand or straight right. But for Errol Spence, of course, he believes that at age 30, defending his 2 welterweight titles, that he's going to come up with a top performance and further solidify his position in what he thinks makes him the best welterweight in the world. Of course, Terence Crawford would have a strong counter argument to that. And of course, those two men thought of kind of at the top of the pyramid in the welterweight division, but many good welterweights certainly are a part of it. Now, the man that I referred to in Danny Garcia with his counterpunching and his overall ability in the ring, well, that is aided and abetted by his dad, Angel Garcia, who is his trainer. And Angel is not a shy person, I think we can all safely say. And he is willing to speak his mind. And we had a chance to chat with him. Here's my chat with Angel Garcia. Angel, thanks so much for joining me. Pleasure to have a chance to chat with you. I've been privileged to do a number of Danny's fights, announce them, and we've had lots of chats at fighter meetings. One thing I don't think I've ever asked you, though, you and Danny have taken this boxing journey together since he was a young man. Exactly. And unlike most fathers and sons, you've had to live your relationship in public in front of people. Right. Has that ever weared on you? Did you ever think to yourself, okay, this is a little bit of a struggle to have everybody, psychoanalyzing us and evaluating us?
Well, yeah, sometimes I feel like they act like they know us. Like basically behind the desk, somebody writing about Danny or me, like good or bad. It's kind of like, well, I do get a little frustrated sometimes, so I try to calm down. But it irritates me sometimes because they don't know me. Right. You know what I mean? Half of the people don't know me. They just seeing what they see on TV or or the press conference, you know, but you got to understand that my son's going in there. He's putting his life involved because you know how this sport is. You've been in this sport a long time. It's a brutal sport. And you know, I can't go and be a nice guy all the time. You know, you're ready to go in there with my son, physically beat each other to death. Because that's what this sport is about. It's about being a gladiator. So when people come at Danny negative, it gets me angry when they don't give him credit for the stuff he has done for the sport of boxing.
Interesting you said that, and it kind of leads me to the next thing I was going to ask you about. You know, Danny goes into this fight with Errol Spence as a betting underdog. He's been an underdog before, was the underdog against Lucas Matisse, one of his, you know, signature victories. And so it seems to me that kind of fuels you guys a little bit. Does it actually help motivate things? Well,
yeah, it gets us more focused because they really think that, well, I don't know if Spence's team is thinking like that. They're just gonna run through Danny to December 5th. I mean, I know what we're gonna do. We're gonna go in and try to bring that title home.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is that they can underrate us all they want. Because, you know, Khan was 7-1 and Khan didn't have a chin. Matisse, I don't know where he was at. The odds was against him, but Danny was the champion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. I think everybody that knows boxing understands that in this fight, Danny Garcia has every chance to win. And
as much as he does, but we bringing that home because you got to understand that I'm not saying that will Danny get credit after he take it to Spence's ass. You know, excuse the words.
Yeah.
They're going to blame it on the car accident.
Yeah.
I hope not. I hope not.
Well, you're
not going to bring that.
Yeah, you're approaching this fight as if you're going to get the most healthy Errol Spence, and I've heard your comments. So you feel like if they say he's ready, then he's ready.
Oh, you're right. Because if a doctor could okay you and clear you for a fight, for a mega fight like this with a puncher like Danny, because we're not going to Texas handicap. He's going to get hit, and the same way Danny might get hit. Would he suck it up? That's the question.
Yeah.
That's the question that people got to ask themselves. Would he be able, because, you know, he haven't been hit like that.
Right.
He haven't been hit. All the fights he had, even when he was coming up, you know, they took good care of him. Because the only 3 names you could give me right now, if I was to ask you that you know of, would be the 3 people you know that I know that he fought.
Right.
And Carol Brooks, when he won that title, he was already done because Triple G iced him. So I'm not taking nothing from Kell Brooks, but he's like a Khan. He's a big name, but ain't got no chin. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
I
understand that December 5th, it's a fight. And I'm taking this very seriously, y'all. I'm not taking this as a joke. I'm not saying this just because I want to look good, because I know what Danny could do.
Yeah.
But we always been the underdog, even in the amateurs.
Yeah.
But we're not new at this. I'll look back there. You see all them balls back there? He earned all that, Al.
That's true. That's true. He did.
It. Nobody ever gave him that, Al. He earned that. And he earned it with his hands. He worked hard for that.
It's true. And sometimes, you know, you make the point that people tend to not necessarily, from the beginning when he fought Khan, people are always thinking, well, maybe he's not up to this task. And of course, invariably he has been, even in his 2 losses, very close losses that could have gone his way. Now in those fights, and some people talk about, and I've heard you talk about this particular fight, that you want him to be, you want to really put it on Errol Spence. And some would say that maybe the only thing that's happened to Danny in a couple of those close losses was he built a hold for himself. Will we see an aggressive Danny Garcia from the beginning?
We coming at him out. We're not going to go there. We're not going to Texas. We're not flying all the way to Texas to play. We don't play boxing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You play basketball, you play football. We don't play boxing. You know, this is the brutal sport. You know, we training for this. We're going to Texas. We're going to fight, Al. Will he be ready to fight, Al?
Mm. All right, so
Will they be ready? Will they be ready to fight?
Yeah. So we can expect to see a very aggressive
Danny
Garcia.
You're going to see Danny Garcia, the Danny Garcia show in Texas, in Dallas Stadium at the ATM.
Now you had an interesting comment about as an Eagles fan what you might do after your victory based on.
Yeah, Danny's gonna run out there like Tio and run on top of the star.
Hey, there's no rivalry like the Eagles and the Cowboys. You guys.
Eagles and Dallas is a rivalry against the Cowboys.
You're going to emulate Terrell Owens and that. And I think you said you were going to sit on the Dallas Cowboy helmet. Is that what you meant?
He stood on. We're going to sit on it.
Okay. This is finally. This has been a journey, as I mentioned, for you guys over the course of a long time. Danny is now 32 years old, and very much, an established career, but one that still has a final portion to be written. Do you think that this fight is like the perfect way to ignite or launch a final chapter in Danny's career that would be special?
Well, honestly, we haven't got credit yet. So I don't think this is gonna make. I mean, we're not gonna get credit. I know for a fact.
Even if he wins against Errol Spence.
Well, even if he wins, people are gonna say that Errol Spence had a car accident. I can already see it, Al. I can smell it already.
Well, I'll give him credit if he wins.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna give him credit. I'm gonna love him to death when he wins.
Yeah.
No, baby, don't do that. No, I got Philly trying to play. No, baby, don't do that. Sorry. No, baby, please.
You're busy there.
Philly. It's Danny's daughter.
Oh, there you go. We got a visitor. I like that. An extra visitor. Okay, so but you will take satisfaction clearly if he can.
Oh yeah, listen, I'm gonna love him to death when he becomes champion again. I'm gonna love him to death, Al.
Well, there you go.
If the people want to love, I can't force nobody to love him or give him credit in the sports world.
All right.
But I know, and deep in my heart, I'm gonna love him to the day I die.
Well, I think that's obvious. Even people that have difficulty with your brash style and all the rest, I think they understand you love your son. That's for sure. And you've done an excellent job in training him. And he's one of the top fighters in the welterweight division, and he would like to win that title to be called the top one. And best of luck to you guys in the fight.
Thank you, Al. Appreciate you.
All right, take care, Angel.
Hey, all right, Al. Thanks. Okay, bye-bye.
So Angel Garcia, a more subdued Angel than some people get, but then I wanted to get his thoughts on things in from a more nuanced fashion, and I think he provided that. He, of course, will be leading his son into battle on December 5th. Now, also on that card, there are some excellent fights, and one of them features Sebastian Fundora taking on Jorge Cota. And Fundora is a very, very interesting man in a division that is filled with talent. The 154-pound division has so many great fighters in it, and this young man has a chance to etch his name in that division as one of the top fighters. Here's our chat with him. Sebastian, thanks for joining me, and this is on the precipice of what is an important fight for you because it's on the undercard of Spence-Garcia, and it's the chief support for that fight. So you should get a lot of attention as you fight Jorge Cota. Is this a moment that you think is going to be a special one for you?
Oh, definitely. This is my second time fighting on a pay-per-view card. We started this year fighting on the Wilder and Fury card, so that was a big fight too. It's always nice to fight on big places. This is another big place, AT&T Stadium, and I'm excited that the fans are going to be back too. So yeah.
Now you speaking of big, you are one of the tallest 154-pounders at 6'5", and people put a big emphasis on that. It becomes the story. But in reality, of course, you are a fighter who not only uses your height and reach, but you are quite the explosive puncher, and you know how to fight on the inside as well. Do you think sometimes people place an emphasis on your height that almost takes away from some of your other abilities?
Yeah, maybe. Like after every fight, everybody's telling me stuff like you should use your jab more, and that I should use my reach and stuff like that. But I've been going through these fights, finding well. I've been fighting power punchers, people that would have good inside game apparently, and I've been doing just fine.
Yeah, you mix it up using your height and your reach, but also fighting well on the inside. You did that against Nathaniel Gallimore, who was a very fine 154-pounder, still is, and had never been knocked out. And you were able to stop him. Did that feel like kind of a milestone for you?
Oh, definitely. It felt like it was a step into the top 10 contenders in the division, and it told everybody in 154 that we're here to do something for real.
Now you are in Cotto. You're facing a fighter who is either he knocks people out or he gets knocked out. 27 knockouts and 30 wins, and yet he's been stopped 3 times in his 4 losses. So we can probably expect explosive action in this fight, I'm guessing.
Definitely. I keep hearing that he's a hard-hitting fighter. And I think I'm a hard-hitting fighter, so we'll just see who hits harder that December 5th.
Now, you're in a division at 154 pounds that is one of the best in boxing. And at 22 years of age, you are poised to make a big run. Is that a division you think you can stay at for a little while?
Yes. Until I become champion, I plan to be on 154.
Who are some of the 154-pound fighters that you see in your future that you would like to fight? There's so many good ones in the division.
Well, Kota first. I want to get this fight through, and then after that, I guess whoever has the belt, because this division's always flip-flopping.
Do you feel like you're ready for a world title shot right now?
We'll see. I'm already fighting for a WBC eliminator, so
What kind of performance can we expect to see from you against Kota in this fight?
An exciting performance. I plan to throw a lot of punches and just make a great show.
Your style of fighting is one of a lot of volume punching and power as well. Have you and your dad worked on specific things that you feel like you want to improve?
Really, no, we just going back and doing the hard work that we're supposed to do, and as our body develops with age and maturity, we just work with stuff. We just keep working on what we've been doing because it's been working fine.
At age 22, as I mentioned, you have an amazing future. Are you surprised at this age you've actually, in a way, your accelerated path has taken you on the cusp of potential world title recognition? Has this come quicker than you even thought?
Yeah, we've been doing this since we were little, so it not that I'm surprised or anything like that. It's nice and it's a blessing, but we've been working hard this whole time. My father and me, I've been boxing since I was 8, so these are just steps to the main thing and becoming a world champion.
So you've been at it so long that it feels like it's kind of on time, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, good luck against Jorge Cota. That's going to be an exciting evening on December 5th, and you're an important part of that night.
Well, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sebastian.
Thank you.
So we'll see how Sebastian Fundora does on December 5th. That should be quite a card with Errol Spence and Danny Garcia. And as we mentioned, before all that happens, on Saturday, November 28th, Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. in their encounter. And one of the people that will be involved in that, unfortunately, as I said, I won't, but a gentleman that will be there is the man that is training Roy Jones Jr., Tom Yankello, who, of course, his website, World Class Boxing, and has an association with us. And it's a terrific website, which if you have not seen, it's a YouTube channel that is shows his expertise at breaking down boxing and training, and it's good for young boxers who want to learn the sport, and it's also interesting for fans in general to learn more about different nuances of the sport. And Tripp, he'll be trying to put all those in effect for Roy Jones Jr. against Mike Tyson.
Yeah, and right, it seems at least that this fight is a social media creation. Mike Tyson at 52 years of age is in great shape. On the other hand, Roy Jones has seen a punch in anger much more recently than Mike. So, and Roy Jones Jr. just a phenomenal athlete, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Everyone's curious to see what happens, and we'll find out on Saturday, November 28th. Here, as it's coming Saturday, as it comes up. Now we are going to be able to further preview the December 5th Spence-Garcia fight on our next podcast, because Derek James is going to be our guest on our next show. Derek, of course, is the trainer of Errol Spence Jr., also the trainer of Jermell Charlo. So we'll have a chance not only to talk about the Spence fight, but also to talk with him about his philosophy of training, and also the career of Jermell Charlo, which, of course, is in stratospheric mode right now after he beat Rosario on the pay-per-view card that we did on Showtime. And so Derek James could be headed toward another Trainer of the Year award in boxing. So we'll have a chance to chat with him. Well, my thanks to Tripp for his fine work, as always. Thanks to Angel Garcia and Sebastian Fundora for visiting with us. And thanks to you for watching. Take care.